There are often things that we want manifestations we try to bring in, or different realities we want to shift to. And I think that's relatively a normal thing, and we all have the possibility and the capability of doing that. But sometimes we run into delays and we don't necessarily know why. We're doing all the things we think we should do, and yet we feel like we're in the same space. This is something I've been working with my guides with a lot lately, and just sitting with myself and working through. And I just kind of wanted to share the information I've gotten and how I'm using that. Now, a lot of times this can come down to one of two things. Either we are not yet the version of ourselves who is able to hold that thing, or the thing just isn't ready for us yet. Third one, because, information always coming in. But sometimes the reason the thing doesn't come in is because there is something better, or we're trying to bring in the thing that isn't exactly what it is that we need or want or is for our best good. And for me, this has been showing up in a few different ways in my life. One of those things is the house I live in. It's not great. We've got really crappy landlords. I'm just gonna be real. The other being the fact that we don't actually have a car. We live an hour's walk outside of town. They're not great. Two of the things I've been trying to bring in is a new home and a new vehicle. Because, well, it's not fun when your home life is just stressful because of neighbors and a house falling apart and landlords that like to gaslight you. That's a completely different story. But in trying to bring these things in over the last 6 months or so and not obtaining them, I've realized that there was a block and I didn't know what it was. So I sat with my guides and I asked, and it was me not being the version of myself that could hold these things yet. And that's not always the case for a manifestation, but for me, the house was more than just a house. I didn't want to just rent another not perfect place. I want home ownership, which when finances have been a struggle, it can seem a little unobtainable. But the other thing is our tiny little house has been very, very overcrowded with things that we do not need. Last year, we wound up going through the storage unit of a loved one who had passed from my partner, and that had just been sitting there very full and overflowing for years. And so they were just, trying to clear it out. And there were so many things in there that I was like, oh, I like this. I want this. I could use this. Such as a lot of yarn covering my tables. I kept the yarn. But there were also a lot of things that I took that I didn't really need to take, that just kind of felt like clutter. It meant the one room that we had in our house that was kind of supposed to be an office, filming studio, art space, workshop space for my partner turned into pretty much an unusable storage unit. And it sat like that for a very long time, longer than I'd like to admit. But now, well, you can see some things behind me. It is a lot clearer. We've got most things organized into about 8 different bins. We've gotten rid of so many of the things we didn't need in the house. And the other thing we're doing is working on building routines around keeping the house more organized and clean and usable. A lot of my life has been spent being dysregulated and overwhelmed by my environment. And I think my ADHD has definitely played a big role in that. My depression has also definitely played a big role in that. But it's not how I want to live. It's not what I want my everyday to live like. And in thinking about why I don't have my house and asking like what's the missing link? Like what is the thing that I need to do to be able to get there? The answer I received, to paraphrase, was we don't want you to take your new house when you get it and have it be like you've been living for the last few years. When you get that house, that's going to be the place where you live, where everything just flows. It's organized, there's space for everything, and you can actually keep up with the cleaning. It's not overwhelming, it's not a dysregulating environment that stresses you out a bunch. It is smooth and it is easy. But it's very difficult to go from being in a state of constant disorganization to just completely organized and clean without regressing back, if that makes sense. And so the last month, 2 months in particular, has been a lot of getting rid of things we do not need, organizing, finding ways and patterns to keep up with the chores that need to be done daily or, a few times a week, once a week, it's gotten a lot easier. It's gotten a lot smoother. We're not perfect yet, but we've found our rhythm. And in that, I have also found more of a freedom and ease in creating, like creating these videos. I've noticed other things start to shift and move. And while there isn't much tangible progress yet, there is progress and it does feel easier. For me to get the house where everything is organized, I first have to live in that energy. You can, if you are familiar with Abraham Hicks and being in the vortex, as she talks about it, I highly recommend looking into that if you haven't before. But there's this kind of in between space that you need to exist in where you know exactly what it is that you want, but you are equally okay with having it and not having it. And that can be kind of mind bending. But in being in the energy of knowing that it is there and it is ready and it is waiting, while also accepting that it is okay for me not to have it, I guess, okay for me not to have it in this moment. It allows this wiggle room for that energy to come in. And when my energy matches the energy that I am trying to bring in, they mirror each other. It allows that blending a little bit better. I hope that makes sense. If you do have questions, ask them. But yeah, so in order to bring in those manifestations, I kind of had to energetically match them while also releasing the need to control them. And it's kind of this weird place to be in. When I obsess over something and think about what I have or its lack thereof, I'm in this mindset of not enough, which means it keeps me in that energy of not enough. But when I take the time to be okay with what I have, I am in that energy of abundance and I try to spend more of my time in there. And there are small ways that I can also notice this have a ripple effect. Like when I find myself getting increasingly annoyed or frustrated or anxious at some of the neighbors who aren't great that live very close for various reasons. Again, me separating myself from that. But when I'm fixating on those things, I find they arise a lot more. I have a lot of issues with it more and more and more. But when I find myself pulling back, I find myself working on ignoring that and focusing inward instead, focusing on what I can do, focusing on being present and creating at least a little mini vortex of reality that is exactly what I need right now. The annoyances occur less, if that makes sense. The things I'm doing are working on becoming that version of myself that can hold those realities I am bringing in. And I definitely think I have gotten there. Another way that this can show up is the fact that I've been working towards a career in social media and art for over a year now, right? I've been creating these YouTube videos for over a year, but for the first little while, there were lots of ups and downs. Lots of ups, a lot of ups and downs. There was a lot of inconsistency where I might post every day for a couple weeks and then not post for 3 weeks to a month. And the version of myself who consistently shows up on YouTube and can hold that monetization or hold that audience isn't the version of myself that is extremely inconsistent. Some months posting a bunch, some months posting nothing. It's the version of myself who finds that consistent routine and pattern, no matter what that looks like. That might look like one video a week with extras if I have the capacity, or that might look like 3 videos a week. It can vary. You know what I mean? And I legitimately do enjoy creating these videos. In the beginning, I kind of liked it, but it stressed me out more than I enjoyed it. But now I just, I like talking. I like gabbing. I am a talker. And I feel like I've reached that version of myself that can hold that audience, that can hold not just the space, but the tasks that happen behind the scenes. And if I were to have suddenly gone viral and had a bunch of orders and had a bunch of replies I needed to reply, comments I needed to reply to, and ways I needed to interact and show up online before I was ready, everything would have kind of like fallen apart. It wouldn't have gone well. But now I feel like I've reached that place where I am ready. I can hold that. I do have that capability. I have learned how to show up consistently. I've learned how to speak my voice consistently. And I think that is really important to distinguish, really important to recognize. I had to be okay with, the vanity metrics being whatever they want to be. And I have reached that point. I feel like I've gone off on some tangents here, but the underlying message still remains the same. If there is something you are wanting to bring in, do you think you can actually hold it and hold it consistently? And if not, that's okay. And if yes, that's also okay. But really, really think with it. Take the time to sit with those thoughts. Take the time to be like, okay, if everything were to show up this week exactly as I want, do I know what I would do? Do I know how to hold it and maintain it? A great example of this is lottery winners. There's a lot of people who win the lottery and within a year or two wind up being just as broke as they were before. They brought in that money, but they were not able to maintain and hold it. Whereas there are also lottery winners who can take that, do some stuff that they need to do, want to do, but they are able to hold on to a lot of that wealth. They are able to create more wealth from that original wealth. You know what I mean? Some people can hold it and some people can't. I definitely want to be the version of myself that can hold it. And that took a lot of growth, a lot of inner work, a lot of healing, a lot of magic and manifestation and witchcraft. But I stack things, I layer things. I have this intuitive sense of knowing. Part of that is just being able to communicate with my guides as to what I need. But knowing what I need to get from where I am now to the person of myself that can actually hold that. Sometimes things aren't meant to be rushed. Sometimes there are things working behind the scenes that you don't notice, but that doesn't mean things aren't shifting and changing. If you throw a rock into the lake, you might see ripples for a few seconds. On the surface, everything might look the same, but that lake is completely changed just by the fact that one rock that was not there before is there now. Things are always changing and shifting, whether you are actually recognizing and seeing that or not. So what things need to change? What things need to shift? Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I'm grateful that you exist, and I hope you have an amazing day. See you in the next video.